Hello, everyone.
I didn't do it.
What? You
Nothing.
didn't pull off Data's arm? I think you did.
Oh. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
I forgot to get another coffee. My mug is empty.
I
It's
have
totally
only like
empty.
the smallest amount of coffee.
Dang it.
Yeah, we're
Do you want to
we're in
vamp?
trouble.
Well, I get a coffee and then I'll vamp while you get a coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Hey guys. Hey, welcome to my pre-show. Today we're gonna talk about some things that are Alright, now that he's gone, chat. I want to redo the background of the captain's pod stuff, and I've been working on a couple of ideas. And we just Captain Whittington and I just don't agree, on what it should look like. And like, do I impose my perfectionist mentality and just like go for it? Or do I like, you know what, it's fine. This is fine. It's fine. It's been fine. It's just, I want more, And the more gene is really strong with me a lot. And so like, okay, we're going to like potentially be redoing our logo and the image on our podcast feed and everything. And I want it to match, but I want to have fun too, like in between. So I was thinking about, every week doing a different background for the show. And he was all like, no. And I'm like, yeah. But then he says, no. And then I say, yeah. And he says, no. And like, do I keep pushing, Captain Whittington? Or do I just say, okay, you know what? It's your, of course, it's your show. It's your podcast, I'm just here every episode too. Is there a ranking system? Do I pull rank? Can I? I shouldn't. That's bad. Anyway, that's the stuff I'm dealing with right now. I made a pretty little image, I made a little pretty image, and he didn't like it. But that's okay because I didn't like his pretty image either. Does it matter? Does any of this matter? It's not like you can hear a logo. Only the people who come live see it, Do you care? Does anyone care? I care. Probably shouldn't care, but I care, I feel better. I feel better now. Thank you. All right, let's see what you had to say about. Oh no, you guys are saying to change it. Oh no. Okay, because I was kind of expecting you to be like, no, Danae, calm your tits. Don't do it. Don't touch it. Because if you side with me and we do this, it's mutiny. Do you know how much trouble? Do you know how many Briggs there are? Oh, crap. Okay, he's back.
She was absolutely talking about me, wasn't she? She was saying horrible, horrible, horrible things. Let's see if I can get it from context clues. Let's have a look. Yeah, you see, the comments are going to give you away, aren't they? Yeah, let's have a look. Everything's fine. It's cold.
Yeah,
Right,
I'll be right.
It's alive.
I'm gonna get my coffee.
Go for it. Go. Okay, let's see if I can figure it out. Are they early? Yes, Link, we are slightly early. I love if I'm just going to repeat all of the questions that she's already answered. Yes, we are slightly early, but we were just ready to go live, so we're going live. Hi, Paulie. Who's ready to decide what sentience is? I am. I'm very clear. I think Maddox was right. Dude, if someone came up and just ate a McNugget out of my McNugget box, I would straight up, what? Where did this come? This is where I feel like Ambassador started talking. So did somebody steal her McNugget? She doesn't like McDonald's, though. She would never have McNuggets. But yeah, I agree. You stabbed them. Hello, Shireen. Hello. Ian drinking something that isn't tea. I have 3 cups of coffees. One in the morning, one in like mid-morning, and then one at like early afternoon. And then I'm tea for the rest of the day so that I can sleep at night. Let's skip ahead. Lunch break. Do I watch CinemaSins? Do I watch CinemaSins Generations or watch Captain's Pod? This is only going to be live for a little bit. Generations will be there on YouTube for ever, hopefully. So I think you're making the right choice if you're here. Let's have a look. Let's go. Danae is in charge. She can think she is. Change it. I know exactly what she's talking about. She's talking about the new background that she's made that I don't like, which is fine. I don't have to like it. I like some things about it, but I don't think it screams Star Trek. She said that mine was designed by a 10-year-old, which I thought was mean, but it's okay. It's okay. I get it. The font is a bit standard, but I like the space and I like the delta. Oh, she's back. But she's really laggy. Or is it me that's laggy?
I don't know. Are you laggy?
Can anybody, is it a bit like kind of laggy for anyone else, or is that just me?
I'm very laggy.
Yeah. Keep pushing. That's your job, is to push the captain. No, that's not what the ambassador's job is. I figured you talked to them about the background design, which when I was downstairs, like I guessed that might come up.
What are you talking about? I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't bring up our own, issues.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't actually talk about any of the new comments that came up. We care, I care. About what I care? Man, what do they care about? Put it on Twitter. Oh, you could vote on Twitter about it, I guess.
We don't have to talk. Oh.
The image in the background is off a tiny bit. It's too far right, and we have a white bar on the side. For this one? Or for your one?
I didn't show them anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But it is slightly off.
It is a little bit off. Yeah, I need to move the delta. But it depends on how many people.
No, it's the background too. Like there's like a little white bar on the left-hand side.
I can't see the white bar. That's I can see the white bar. Oh. Well, it'd be nice if somebody had told me that sooner. Damn it, people. Damn it. Right, we'll just put your one up then. Just put your one up.
I deleted it because it was bothering you.
I never said it was bothering me.
You said you hated it. You said get off my bridge.
Nope. Never said those things.
Pretty sure you called some Romulans to come and this is what I did, guys.
Yeah. She didn't delete it. She's just being dramatic.
I did. I just added it back because you asked me to. Welcome to the show where Ian and I fight back and forth the entire time. You want to see the whole thing? Okay. I think that here. Nope.
Now, for me, I like it. It just doesn't say Star Trek to me. The font does, but it just doesn't scream. It doesn't scream Star Trek. It's very pretty. It's a beautiful image. Yeah. But it doesn't say Star Trek podcast to me.
Okay. Look, people like it.
Danae, with all due respect to everybody watching, I've seen what makes you cheer. Your boos mean nothing.
What do you mean?
You would like almost anything that we put up.
Me? I would like anything, or the chat would like anything?
The chat would like anything that you make, because you are so beloved.
But that's not true. I could do something that they would absolutely hate.
If you really tried, but I think anything that has 9% effort,
just 9%.
Anything above 9% effort towards being good will be loved.
I like the Borg cube comment. Where was that go?
Borg cube? Yeah, that would make it more Star Trek. Danae, I love you. You know I love you, but I'm afraid Ian has a point.
It's not Star Trek enough.
Hurt. I know that. No, I don't know if slab means that or the fact that they would love everything. And I know that hurts slab to say. I really do. I feel it, buddy.
Wait, what does that mean? But hold on a second. Wait. What does that mean? Does that mean that like I could do shit and people would just like it because it's shit?
You should do the Emperor's Advisors Fable story thing. You should test it. Because
what do you mean?
There's the story that this emperor needed like a faithful advisor, and he made this like cake or something that was fucking hideous. Like it was inedible. And he brings his most trusted advisors. And one of them is like, best thing I've ever had. The other one is like, that is incredible. I love it. And only one of the advisors was like, dude, it tastes like shit. So he fired all of them and kept the advisor that was honest with him. So you should do that with the chat and see what happens.
I think the chat would read me for filth if it looked like shit.
I don't know. I think they
They
love you too
would.
much.
No.
I think this is why I'm happy that they don't like me, because I know they'll be honest with me. So, you know what? I hate Ian, but that's a nice background.
Okay. So we need a delta, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. All right. Hold on. All right, I'm going to work on it.
Now that I've exposed them, I've exposed the masses, the comments are coming in. It looks good, but I do agree it needs more Trek. I'm with Ian on this one.
Well, this is what I'm saying is I threw this together and I liked it better because I like that it's dark. I like that you can read it a little easier. I like that it doesn't have a white bar on the side.
I didn't know about the white bar. That is so easily fixable. Funnily enough, white doesn't really come up against white.
I thought the little doodle on the bottom was hilarious. I didn't think it was actually going to go to print. It's just I threw it out there just to kind of be silly.
Okay.
And you asked to see it, so I put it up here. That's all. That's the only reason this is here. Jesus fuck. Let's go
The astronaut does look a bit clip arty. That's nice. Let's just stick with that.
That's exactly what it is. It's a clip art.
I don't want clip art in the background.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. I love what you did with this. This is great.
Thanks. Thank you. This is
amazing.
This is just a picture. I didn't do anything.
No, you animated the other one. That's really pretty.
Thank you, Ian.
You get that font from the last picture that you did and put that across here, and yeah, I think we're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
What makes that more Star Trek?
What?
This one.
Well, this one's in space.
That one has space.
Everything has space.
It's like you knew that I was going to say that, and you
course,
already had your answer set up.
Absolutely.
I liked the black and whiteness of it.
I would have absolutely killed in this episode of Star Trek as like the legal defense. I probably would have made Data declared as a toaster.
You would have?
Yeah. If I would have been given that argument, I would have been able to prove it, I think. Shireen bringing back the love. You know who's beautiful? You too. Thank you. That's what's most important. That's what we need to concentrate on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Are you ready to talk about some Star Trek?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You need to do your thing to the chat about we don't talk to them during the show and whatnot. The rules.
This is all your show.
Oh no. It's my show when it's misbehaving.
It's not misbehaving. Everybody's behaving exactly like they should.
Does anyone want to see a puppy?
I mean, you mean my puppies?
No.
Nope. Ian has a puppy too.
I have a puppy here. He's almost sleeping. Shall I wake him up?
Yeah.
Should I wake up? Oh, you guys.
Yeah, wake him up. We're assholes. We don't care.
Oh, he's so sleepy. Oh, he is sleepy dog. Oh, buddy. Oh.
Can't you see? Look at him. Look at Alfie.
Oh.
Look at Alfie.
Oh.
Look at those little. He looks like a little Ewok, you guys. Look
at him. He's so sleepy.
Guys, I've just woken up. I don't know why I'm being held.
Look at the big yawn.
Are we here to talk about Star Trek? Okay, can I put my little tiny Star Trek? He's eating my ear. Sarah. It's not a derp dog. No, he actually gets to keep his tongue in his mouth.
Yeah.
Look at him. He is so adorable and tiny.
He's so adorable.
It is a tribble with legs, Slab. You are not wrong.
He is a tribble.
Oh, look at that. Look. Shireen, that's like the perfect little emotes. It's not even a real dog. This is an Android dog, by the way. This is like something you can get at Walmart.
Uh-huh.
You just put some batteries in there.
Yeah.
He's so tiny.
He's so little. Oh.
Is he going to be at Sin Week?
He's not. There's no way I can fly him to America. He would also hate it. He would hate flying so much. He's such a vulnerable dog.
Okay, so put a horn on him like in the TOS episode.
He would let it happen. He would absolutely let it happen.
Stop eating his ear! You
He
fucking
loves it.
weirdo! You fucking
Oh.
weirdo! Quit it!
I'm eating the dog. Amazing. He is 7 years old, although he only looks like 7 months old. Okay, buddy. Down we go.
Let's just put this one up here. Get a little Star Trek.
This is adorable.
Want more Star Trek, Danae. Here's one. Here's one. I'll throw together. I guess no. You don't like it.
Like, what is she advertising? Like, who put that together? Like, who? What is the goal of that picture? I am so because they dressed her up as well. She's got like a funky T-shirt on.
It's the futuristic Star Trek situation.
Pass. Hard.
Yeah,
I'd have to agree. Pass on that one.
Well, no, what that is it, guys. That is what you are looking for.
Yeah.
You want more Star Trek? I'll figure it out.
It's not it. Right, let's do it. Chat, don't talk to us during the show. I mean, no, you can chat, talk to us during the show, throw up messages and whatnot, and we'll save them until afterwards. But because we're recording the show, we probably won't talk to you in the moment and stuff. I mean, it may distract me and we may throw up some things. But if anyone comes in and then like this person that is absolutely
look at that lousy banned. Look at this look at this person. Hey, yeah. We're gonna ban that fucker.
Where's my button to do that? Mods.
Oh, we have mods in the chat.
Hey, mods, do it. Get that bot. Get the bot.
Get the bot. Yeah.
Out. Want to beam out.
Noxo1. Get him. Get
NX01. Come on. Yeah. So we don't talk to you, but you can carry on talking amongst yourselves, and then after the show, we'll answer your questions and stuff, and we'll save them. We've already got some questions that have been saved.
We do.
We'll do that.
We have questions. You guys know the shit that happens. Here we go.
I thought it was exclamation mark fuck, isn't it? I thought it was.
For what?
No, exclamation mark language.
No.
It is. It's exclamation mark language, and that will say cinema sins has sworn a certain amount of times.
Do we change it? I thought it was.
Yeah.
You changed it?
No, I. Did I change it? I think I did change it because something got banned or something.
Wow.
No. I didn't change language. I can't remember.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wow.
Anyway, apparently it has been changed. This is why I don't do things. Nope. Welcome to the Chaos Stream. Hello, Katra. Good evening. Just quick to say hi to leave. We'll watch the VOD later. Have fun and a nice weekend. Bye. Hey, if this is you now watching it later, fuck you.
Hi. Clip that.
Hates you, bitch. Amazing.
That's not something that you were supposed to remember that well, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Uncalled for, man.
Comes up. Amazing.
I agree.
Right, are we ready? Let's do a show. Let's do the thing.
Okay, I'm ready.
Cool. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched. Most important question first. What is your beverage of choice?
Oh, yeah. Let's just say something that Guinan pours. What did Guinan pour in this episode? Did they say?
Of her people. No, I don't think so.
Usually I say something about tears.
Anything.
Oh, well, they were definitely, drinking stuff. What was Riker drinking? It looked like some sort of like chai tea or something.
Oh, it did. A really, really milky coffee. It's like whenever they got the see-through cups, they were like, "We're going to make sure you can see what's in there."
Because when he moved it, it stayed on the sides.
Yeah, there was like some foam going on.
Whatever film-based drink that the asshole Riker is drinking, I'll have some of that.
I want whatever milk androids produce now that we know that they're alive and living, because all living things produce milk. That's my new definition of life.
Interesting.
Android milk me, baby. Okay, this week we watch a seminal episode, which I may have built up a bit too much, where Data's existence has been brought into question, and
Existence. Very existence.
and a cyberneticist from Starfleet wishes to take him apart in order to build an army of androids that can do all of the difficult stuff that humans don't want to do. Which, when Data refuses, raises the difficult question of can he refuse, and does he have the right to choose? A complex argument that is still being debated today across society. Ambassador, what did you think about the episode? I am
Fuck
so
this episode. Fucking hard. I'm
You hate
so
it?
angry. I hated it. I hated this
Do you hate
episode.
it because of what it's doing, or
Yes.
as an episode of TV?
Leave Data alone.
Can you? Well,
You're all
no, I
bastards.
have to agree.
Everyone's a bastard. Even
writers.
Picard. Everybody. Why are we doing this? Leave him alone. Why do we have to go here? Okay, sure. It's a great episode. Okay, great. This has maybe one of the most epic Picard, speeches in history. Okay,
Of course it is.
is the
Picard's
framework
speech to
for
end all Picard's
Android
speech.
shit for years to come. Blah, 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 blah. This whole episode, I'm just like, I am having no fun. This is no fun. I would rather sit on a screwdriver. This
Man.
blows ass.
So you just didn't like it at
Hated
all.
it. Like I want to watch TV to have fun. I don't want to watch TV to be worried on the edge of my seat the entire time, even though I never think it's gonna be fun. That Data is gonna get like dismembered by some dick prick fucker. I mean, Maddox. When I watched Picard, I was like, oh, poor Maddox. And I'm just like, I'm glad you fucking died, you piece of shit.
Agnes should have killed him quicker.
Not only quicker, like sooner, but slower. Yeah. His death may be one of my favorite in TV of all time now, and I didn't even know it until I watched this episode.
But it's a
So for
point
that
of
reason, I'm
view.
glad we watched it. We watch things to feel emotions. I watch things to be reminded that I have emotions, and it was interesting. It was all right.
Amazing.
But I would watch this episode for the Guinan scene, the Picard speech scene, and then everything else can go away because, wow, this one pushed all the emotion buttons for me. I was not having fun. I was not having a good time.
This is the beauty of television. Sometimes you can have a good time by not having a good time. Like this, for me, and I don't want to take anything away from your experience, but this is the shit we have to talk about. Like, it is an analogy for how we demean people and how we decide who has more rights and the bullshit ways that the law tries to get out of treating everyone equally. Like, this Star Trek is like, this is the great thing about Star Trek. It can do this shit and have us talk about it. And I love it. And you should feel uncomfortable. Like, it is an uncomfortable thing to watch, but it is important to talk about.
Is it important?
Full disclosure, I 100%, not 100%, 99% knew this was going to be your reaction. I was almost certain you wouldn't have a good time.
If we were watching a movie, this would be the uncomfortable scene that lasts for a little longer, and then, you've got some other stuff going on. You've got some other places to go. But this episode sits entirely in the most uncomfortable parts of who Data is, literally and figuratively. It's just like this episode should come with a warning, but it's great. But it's great because it asks great questions and it goes really interesting places and it sets a lot of framework and I get what it's doing. But god damn, was it heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
It's heavy. This was a heavy episode.
For me, this is where it excels because I think some sci-fi shows try to be too analogous and too abstract and keep it too light. This one is like, we're going to sit here and we are going to talk it out, and this is big, and this is how. But there are still so many moments in it that just are entertaining to watch.
Kinda.
Riker taking Data apart.
What a fucking asshole!
It's
Sorry.
great. He takes
It's
his
not great.
hand off. He deactivates him and just like, yeah, fuck Pinocchio.
He doesn't
It's
have to do it like
great.
that. You know, he didn't have to do it like that.
Well, that I agree with. It's not actually a good argument, but it's like really, it is shocking. And I just think like,
It's
okay,
very
so
shocking.
can you appreciate
No.
what they what they had to make Riker do? So the character, like that's a clever story beat. No,
No.
No?
The whole
making
no.
him attack Data.
No. No, I don't appreciate that. I'll tell you why.
No. Okay, go for it.
And I mean, we're just going to be sinning it as we go, okay? Because I liked very little about this episode because it made me so uncomfortable. Ask me again tomorrow when I'm like a couple of like I have hours to examine my emotional just turmoil that I'm in right now. But we're like, oh, hey, the best idea that we can do is watch a show and immediately record our reaction to it. So I don't have I don't have fucking time to think about it. I'm so mad right now. I'm sweating. I'm so mad watching this show. Wow. And I've been just it's ridiculous. All of this is ridiculous. This is like the quintessential forced plot tension bullshit that writers do sometimes to get to a point. Like it's a great point. Like, is Data property? Who owns Data? All that stuff. Those are really interesting questions to ask, and they're important to ask. And I think it definitely gives, like I said, framework for the future. And we're hitting on some big notes that Picard is definitely, doing in their season 1. But all of this is contrived. All of this could have happened in a completely different environment. None of this had to happen today. It's like, there is such a larger situation at hand. There's no reason to force someone to defend or prosecute your fellow crew member, whether they're an automaton or not. All of that is just like, you know what? Because we don't want to have a big, episode where we pull in all of Starfleet to have a lot of minds and examine this, we're going to have 3 people decide the future. And that is such bullshit. Just because they happen to be here when it came up, you know what I'm saying? They don't
have a staff. Yeah.
I don't believe that Starfleet doesn't have any protocol in place for a situation like this, that somebody can like this woman Philippa or whatever, which reminds me of Philippe from Beauty and the Beast, this horse woman, who is someone who is like, we respect her, we hate her, whatever. It's just, in order for this episode to work, guys, we're going to have this really judgmental woman with a potential love interest conflict. Let's make that more interesting. Okay. We're going to have this evil prick Maddox who's questioning Data, and then no one else to defend them except for their own crew. So we're going to pit the crew against each other. We're going to turn Riker into a real piece of shit. And, Picard, he's just going to be sweating balls until he talks to Guinan and has a realization that they're potentially creating a race in the future. And that's the entire episode. And we're just going to make it the most uncomfortable, don't eat before you watch this episode because the turmoil in your gut's going to make you have the shits by the end episode. 1, 2, 3, go. I started watching this episode. I'm almost done. I started watching this episode, and all I could think about was, okay, cool. Yeah. Poker. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's get to the good shit. And then I'm like, I just want to see the space station. That's cool. Look at that space station. I want to see more of that, because they really didn't show it a lot at the beginning. But then by the end, I was so angry with this episode. I was like, get me the fuck away from the space station. I don't want to be anywhere near the space station. I don't even know if I want to watch the show anymore. And the only reason that I'll watch the show again is because Data is so fucking cool. But they're going to keep messing with Data, and I don't fucking like it. Why am I so mad?
It's worth digging into. Especially since he's fine. Like, he's okay at the end of this.
Yeah, he gets to choose his death to be more human. That's interesting. And Maddox dies, so that's good.
Eventually.
It takes too long. It takes too long for him to die, honestly.
It takes over 30 years. He has 30 years of existing, breathing the same air as Data, even though
Data's a better man than any of us. He's just like shaking his hand at the end, like, hey, I kind of liked some of your ideas, but not that one. Anyway.
I mean, I knew you wouldn't like this because for a lot of reasons. Like, it is super emotional. It's very courtroom drama. It's probably a little bit dated, but I was not expected to get this vitriol for it. I thought you might like appreciate what they were trying to do in the conversation that they were having, but this hit you hard. That's
It sure
fascinating.
did. It sure did. Tell me, Ian Whittington, Captain, what
Yeah,
did you like about this episode?
so fucking much. I love it. I love it so much. But maybe it's so interesting. It's probably because I watched it from a young age before I understood the weight of the episode. I just remember Riker being pitched against Picard, pulling Data apart, and then Picard making that argument redundant, and it all being well in the end, and everyone being okay. So I've grown up with it, and then grown into what it means, what the wider implications of what this story means, and what it's referring to, and what it's talking about. So coming into it completely blind, well, not completely blind. That's the wrong way to put it. But coming into it so much after the fact, and with so much other background of Star Trek. Yeah, I guess it maybe colors my vision a little bit, and I wonder what would happen if I came to it now. I'd like to think I'd still love it and look past the contrivances, because it is super duper contrived. Like, it just so happens that they're setting up a new JAG office on this space station. It just so happens that they're out of staff. It just so happens that this can't wait a day. It just so happens that this entire court case has to happen over the case of 2 days, which should
Yeah.
take 6 months or years to get
Yeah.
through something as complex as this. It isn't getting decided in an afternoon. Most likely, Maddox, being the litigious bastard he is, would have appealed this decision, and it would have gone through another round of courts. But they got to simplify it down for the episode. They got to get to. This is where I'm happy that the concept and the conceit outweighed the practicalities, because the message here isn't how hard is it to get through the court system. The message is, how do we treat people, and how do we define what is alive, and how should we be defining that? I don't think it can get bogged down in the specifics of all of that. I think you missed the point.
It's like, this is how I watch my content, right? Like, I don't watch content to go through turmoil. I got enough shit going on in my actual life. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but this is like in the movie when you love a character, but you watch them go through hell. But the weird thing is that Data doesn't actually feel any of this stuff. The people around him feel the stuff. And that's interesting. Like, the humans feel the emotions about the unfairness or the fear or the anger or whatever they're feeling. But Data's just like, okay, I'm getting transferred. Well, that's not a very lot. I don't have a choice. And so he just kind of accepts it. Then he is given a choice, and he resigns because that's the best option. And his motivation that he says is to keep alive Dr. Sung's like contribution to the world, which is really, really interesting. It's not his own self-awareness. And then like the whole show is pivoted on whether or not he is self-aware. And it's like his desire to even remain beyond is to like carry on some sort of legacy for someone else and not his own. So that's an interesting thing to think about all of a sudden. Yeah. Anyway, it's like, there's so many good things to think about, like good conversations to have if you're in the mood for it. But do not watch this episode if you're not in the mood for it. This episode is not like a casual, let's watch a space battle episode. This is one that gets into like the letter of the law, but then it also just calls into question the validity of Starfleet in general. Because again, like we're talking about, I can't believe that there's not some sort of system in place to take this huge decision through the decisions that need to be made. However, having watched Picard and thinking about like the darker parts of Starfleet, I can see how this is potentially hinting at the fact that someone like Maddox would be given the authority to go on the perfect time to strike and take data. Oh my God. To go and do that, right? To go and like say, well, we can't really get Data if we're going to be on this place because there's going to be more support for him. So we have to go and try to take him away while he's just out in the outskirts of nowhere so we can create our own machines. But I don't know that the show is trying to get there. I think it's like just reaching of that as a possibility in the future, and that picks up later on. But either way, it was hard to watch. I don't know how to like process things like this because I also
Mm.
was so emotional watching it that it took me a second to be like, oh, Picard's actually doing the Picard thing right now. Like now I can be happy again. So
Yeah.
when Picard like takes his stage and he's like, gonna lay out his case for Data and his ability to have his own choice, he just opens up a duffel bag and says, here's some stuff. It means something to you, right? Okay, case closed. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
That is broken. So when Philippa throws over to
Even
Riker and says, "Do you want to cross-examine?" and he's like, "No," it's like, "Of course you cross-examine," because the argument there is just, yeah, but Data's just programmed to replicate those emotions, to pretend to be intimate, to do a good impression. Like there are NPCs in video games that I am very attached to because they've been programmed to emote and to say things to make me like them. And there are evil NPCs that are designed to say shit and kill characters I like to make me hate them. Like we
yeah.
can do that now. Like there are Riker, as damning as Riker's argument is, it isn't, and he doesn't push it hard enough. Like he
No,
should just
the
say
whole
he's doing a
thing.
good impression of a human.
Because guess what? None of these people are supposed to be in court. Like this is you've asked people who have authority on a ship to become law, and then they do like a crash course in looking at shit, and then all of a sudden they're all playing. This is like what would happen if your buddies just decide that they want to play make believe and just do like some court fun. Like it's like it was like watching Star Trek's version of a reality TV show based on like Judge Judy. It wasn't. It didn't. It lacked a lot of the feeling of like I felt like Data was in danger. Of course, I felt that. But as I'm looking for like where to anchor into because my world is being rocked because I'm in it. I'm like in the moment with the show. I'm like, okay, but does any of this really matter? Because by the end, they're just going to create some sort of reason for him to stay together when they did a really great job of pointing out that he's an android instead of having choice. Like it's almost like they made a better case for him to be a piece of property than for him to, I don't know. It was just baffling to me. This episode was baffling to me.
I do think that Riker missed the point. He was trying to prove what species Data is, not trying to prove if he's property. Because, like, Picard's argument is great. He's like, yeah, but lots of species have super strength, and lots of species can do the things that Data does. Like, just because he's very good at them, that doesn't make him property. Like, Riker is arguing.
I got a question. This is important. This is important. This is important. This is important. Remember all those times that we've watched Data take over the ship?
Yeah. Okay.
Does that happen later on in the seasons, or
yeah, that's all after this? Yeah.
Oh, great, because that should have come up in this case.
Yeah,
because that should be
one where he takes
that
over?
Should be a clear reason why Data shouldn't be allowed. He should be disassembled. He should be taken offline. He should, because that shit's scary. Like he locked everybody out. But it's interesting to watch this episode out of order as well, and kind of go, like that should absolutely have been evidence in this situation as to why he is dangerous.
It's not about whether he's dangerous. So criminals still have the right to choose. They still are human beings. Yeah, we put them in prison
until you're incarcerated.
Wrong. Well, that's because you break the rules. Data hasn't broken any rules.
He sure has. In the future.
Not at this point.
In the future. But yeah.
But you're right. It's still a faulty argument, and it always bugs me when Riker turns him off. Because I'm like, yeah, but you grab a hypo spray and do that to Picard and you turn him off as well.
Well, yeah.
You can sedate him. Like, okay, it's not built in. However, if you hit me around the head with a hammer, that's my built-in off switch. Like that, even that is a faulty argument to me.
Yeah. It was very difficult because I'm thinking about so many things, and I'm also trying to be in the moment and like follow the show's logic. And then I'm just like, I don't know if I am agreeing with this logic, but they sure did a good job of playing at the emotions. It's an episode that will make you feel uncomfortable if you care about Data, and it's an episode. and it's an episode that poses some interesting questions about ownership and rights and the right to choose, etc. So that's very interesting, and it sets the stage for the future. So there are some things about the episode I think that are really, really good, and I totally understand why we're watching it, considering the history of, Data is coming really hard into play in support of Picard. I kind of think that if people are going to watch Picard season 1, they should listen to this season of Captain's Pod to prepare before they even go into season 1 of Picard. Like, we're going into season 3, but this is a great kind of like crash course into like some background history.
100%. Yeah.
Of course, then I'm just going to spoil, I guess, in this episode that Data dies. So sorry about that. Shit.
Many times.
Shit.
At least twice. Okay. There's a nice touch. I want to see what you think about this. One of my favorite moments in this episode.
Let's try to find some good stuff, okay? Because I have a lot of notes here.
You're going to hate this so much. Now, for the record, everyone, I think we've made the decision. We won't be splitting this into 10 forward and engineering. This is going to be another one that's just a general discussion because there's too much. What's interesting is that I have 20 notes in good and 2 notes in sins. And I'm imagining that yours is flipped, which is the perfect time to just do it.
But it might be more emotion based. Like, I may have already gotten it all out. You know what I mean?
There is a moment where Riker looks up the schematics of
Data. Yeah.
And he finds the off switch, and then he smiles, catches his smile, realizes what he's smiling about, and then feels bad. That is an amazing 10 seconds of emotion, realization, reality, guilt. Frakes just fucking nails that. It hits me every time because it's exactly how I think he would be feeling. Like, I have to do this because I have to prove if I don't do my job, then Data's screwed regardless. And Data at the end is just like, you hurt yourself to save me, and I won't forget that. And it's just those 2 moments where Data is like, yeah, you did what a horrible thing that you think is, but that was painful to you. And I see that as a kindness to me, and I won't forget it. It's Riker in this episode is great. I know you hate it.
Riker, like, when you're asked to do something that you don't want to do, you usually kind of just do the bare minimum.
He can't. It's not an option.
Shh. He didn't have to call him Pinocchio and drop the fucking mic and walk out of the room. You
do.
No, you don't. You don't have to do that.
You could argue that he replaced a good argument with Venom. Because if he'd have delivered a really good argument, but without any passion, he might have won. But he kind of sold the performance by calling him Pinocchio. It was painful to him.
He loved it.
He did not love it.
I have loved Riker since I was young, and I don't any longer. This killed my Riker love.
I ruined your Riker love.
Yeah. When I see him again,
oh no.
It's just a straight punch to the dick. Because
Jonathan Frakes, dick punch.
We don't care about people's boundaries anymore. We just reach out and turn them off without any permission.
Yeah, but you don't care if they're not a person. And he has to believe that Data isn't a person.
He doesn't have to believe that.
He does.
That's
the whole argument.
He's not in the law. He's been asked to do something that he can't. He doesn't. He even said, "I can't do that, but I'll try." And then he just goes full hog, and he's like, "You know what? In order to prove my point, I'm gonna shut this thing down." When you could also shut just fucking phaser gun people. It's like, okay, now no one's in the room anymore because we're all shut down. What the fuck point is that? Anyway, he didn't have to do that. It was not okay.
I think he kind of did.
I don't think he did. I think he went too far. Goodness. It's kind of like sometimes you just go too far, and he went too far. But then there was a sweet moment at the end. Your question, back to your question. Yes, I did think that moment was interesting, but I don't like that he smiled at all. It should have all been pain.
Well, the Riker smiled because his friend forgave him
No,
for the
when
most
he
horrible thing
like
he
no no
had
no
to.
no the scene you were talking about.
Oh, sorry. When he finds the, but
No,
that's like, I
no.
was gonna say, like, you can't begrudge a man the smile of forgiveness. No, yeah, it's we are joining him hours and hours into his research and building his case, I would hope. And he didn't just half-ass it for 25 minutes and was like, man, I'll do it on the day. But we're joining him in the depths of his research, and he's just like, I've got it. Oh shit, this is what I've got. And it's beautiful. It's
I,
beautiful.
we don't usually like talk about the chat during the show because it's kind of like we try to keep the show rolling. But I did want to point out that Sci-Fi Brony says, remember the Admiral said that if she suspects for even a second that Riker wasn't trying his absolute best, she would rule against Data.
Exactly.
I did forget that. So
Okay.
thank you for bringing that up. There are entire pockets of this episode that are like black void for me because I was so unhappy. So thank you for
Interesting.
telling me that because I did forget that, and it is
Mm.
important. But then also in the chat brought up, who would you rather have? Link asks, who would you rather have been in Riker's position? And that's a perfect thing. It should have been a horrible, not Beverly. She's on the ship. She played poker at the beginning. She already doesn't like Data. She already calls him a toaster. Put Pulaski there.
Yeah.
Pulaski would have
but-
argued that case way better.
But it's less, for me, it's an extra dynamic. Getting somebody that you like to do this argument is way more interesting than getting Pulaski to do it, who we already
From a
know
writer's
has, like,
perspective, but not from
Yes!
a perspective of the person that's trying to prove their point. Like Maddox should have been like, don't give me that person. Give me somebody who actually like gets what I'm saying. I understand that as professionals, maybe at the level of Starfleet, maybe we're expecting that these characters, these people can strip all of their own like perspective away to make difficult choices. Like that's kind of what this particular episode is asking us to face, which is that someone that we trust and we have watched and we're like, yeah, Riker, shifts over into like bad guy mode. And it's not on the holodeck where we can forgive him. You know, it's actually real life, real storyline. Like that's a hard pill to swallow. And it is interesting to think that we have to ask them to be that level of professional for their jobs. But I kind of like don't like Starfleet anymore now.
Oh no, that you're never supposed to like Starfleet.
I did until today, though. I am mourning the loss of being like, fuck yeah, Starfleet's awesome. I'm really enjoying this. Now I'm like, yeah, this is shit.
Interesting.
I don't want to be here anymore. It sucks.
What's really interesting is that one of my positives was I would really, really like a Star Trek JAG TV show.
Oh my God.
And you would not enjoy that. You
No.
would not do that show.
I don't
with
know.
Me.
Maybe
At
if they
all.
had some rules that made sense to
And
me, maybe it'd be
lawyers.
interesting. Yeah. Like a lawyer TV
goodness.
show, like we just did She-Hulk, right? So like
Yeah,
She-Hulk, but in space.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
There is so much you could dive into, and it would do a better job than this episode does as well. Man, I am stunned. A couple of people, like when I've mentioned this episode, have said it's a good episode of TV. It's not a good episode of Star Trek. And I get that because of what it's dealing with is important. It's like a really important and substantial think piece. But does it belong in Star Trek? I still say yes, it belongs in Star Trek because that's what Star Trek does. It challenges the stuff that we're dealing with now with the safety blanket of putting it 300 years in the future, just like Shakespeare did. He would set all of his stuff in Europe so that the people back home didn't think he was talking about them. And he would say like the King of Venice or whatever instead of the King of England. But it's... yeah, it's missing some of the Star Trekky light-heartedness of it, but it's not like you have this episode every week. Like this is quite a rare thing, and man, I would be so excited to be a part of this episode as well. And that Picard speech, like some of the arguments are faulty, and yes, he's not a legal professional, and he should have been challenged, but damn it, that is a good speech. And when he just gets too passionate at the end, and like just points to Riker and says, "What? Like, do you know?" And to Philippa, "Do you know?" And just starts tearing people down. I love it because that's when he's kind of showing that it's bigger than the people in that room. Talking about how humans deal or how people deal with each other, regardless of like your species and race and everything. It's for me, it's always going to be a fascinating episode.
The Picard, my notes from that part is Picard is Picarding! Exclamation points.
Right? This
like,
is the
all
origin.
caps, you know, because this is Picard kind of maybe being more in that character vein that I remember, the one that's going to have an eloquent speech that you want to listen to 3 or 4 times to hear it all and process it all and kind of really it's written so well, and I love how it's acted, and I love how everyone acted great in this. Like the fact that I am mad about how a storyline went and how I'm feeling emotions. If the writers were listening to this, they'd be like, "Well, we did our job." You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And the actors would be like, "Yes, we made it. We made it make sense." Do you know what I mean? So it's I can't fault them shifting out of the stratosphere from where I thought we were going to be. I thought this episode was going to be a little bit of fun. This was not fun.
Oh no.
But the Picarding part, I was like, okay, now I'm kind of like, here's the scenes I liked. I liked Data collecting his stuff. I thought that was interesting. Didn't know that they were boinking, by the way, until today. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Was that like an afterthought, or was that actually in the story?
That happens in one episode.
Okay, cool.
But it is referred to a few times.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So that was really interesting because I was like, oh, he has like a picture of Tasha Yar, like or a hologram of Tasha Yar. That's really interesting. I have no point of reference for that relationship at all. So that's interesting. And then for it to come up just as this brief sort of mention about them having an intimate relationship. Yeah, I'm sure that was way more powerful. Like I wanted them to dig into it a little more. Like, well, what does that mean? Like you just went through the motions, like you're the tool. Or were you having feelings? Like, what was that like? What does it mean we were intimate? What does that mean to you, Data, to give him more of a perspective of like him being an his own being? Yeah. But they didn't go there, probably because they don't want to have that kind of a rating on TV when this aired. So that was a scene that I really liked. I enjoyed seeing the emotion of the going away party when Data is opening up his going away gifts, and he's just very carefully open the paper, and they say you're missing the point. He gets it all the way open, and then he rips the paper. Love that. To this
day, I do that with my presents. I carefully open them, and then and it kills my dad every time. Like it's so with the application of a little care, the paper can be recycled and used again.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so good.
So good.
That was really cool.
I do love the cold open to this. It is great. Like Data is so confident and ready to play poker. He is like, this game is exceedingly simple. Wait, you lie? And he is just not ready that somebody will lie about the hand that they have, because he's just like, no, it's based on the cards. And as long as you have the better cards, and you bet when you have the better cards, you can't lose. And it's just so funny how much he gets played, and his stunned reaction when he's like, you have nothing.
You have nothing. That was interesting to me too, because I would assume that there would be something in all of the material that he has that would indicate that.
Every single document that I've read about poker mentions bluffing.
Bluffing is a big part of it. Yeah. Yeah. So that was still fun. Like that, the face off between Data and Riker. I thought that it was going to be them facing off because they're both bluffing each other, but then it turns out like Data was like getting schooled a little bit. So I think it's meant to show us that Data still has some things to learn about what humans do, but I still go, well, I don't know. Like he should have read about it. That shouldn't be a surprise. But I'm sure try not to make Data like an unrelatable character to watch.
Like, he should have watched millions of hours of like live poker tournaments from the 90s and the noughts and the 10s and whatnot, and been like an expert on the best poker players.
The end scene, between he and Riker, where once again we kind of just show mature resolution. Riker is really upset about what he's done, and it should keep him up every night for the rest of his fucking life.
How do you know it doesn't?
I don't actually. No. I'm getting a little bit better. Nope. Still have an ulcer about it. Nope. Still mad. I thought I was forgiving, but I'm not there yet, guys. I have my own process I got to work through. Ask
Yeah,
me next week
there's a
how it's
lot.
going.
There's a lot to get through.
So I like that scene because, Data, it's kind of like watching a character take back his power from Maddox, when he takes back his power from Maddox and says, I'm not going through this procedure. Like immediately, as soon as he has his answer, he's like, I'm not doing this. Yeah. And then with Riker, he reclaims like, no, I understood the situation. And it was very, calculated how Data is conversing. And I thought that was clever. But Picarding was definitely my favorite moment. Because again, it hits at those larger notes, and he said this one line, our purpose is to seek out new life, and there it is. And he points over to Data, and I got chills at that moment, because it's like the culmination of this show for me. Every episode they're going out and they're doing their thing, and we're seeing like how Star Trek treks. But the new life that you're like, oh, I wonder what the new life is this week, is there the whole time. And I thought that was a beautiful way to write that. And it was a beautiful way to like point out that this is something to respect, whether it's the start of a new race or an individual one-off thing, whether there's a soul or not. And he said, you want your chance to make law. Well, here it is. Make it a good one. And then the horse says, I have to make a ruling that will speak to the future. And I thought that was a really cool way of sort of like knowing how the show Picard goes. I think that was really, really interesting. So yeah. But there's lots beautiful. Of sins, lots and lots and lots.
Go on, chuck us out some more. I do love that moment so much. There he sits. It's
so good. I got chills.
Even chills. Like Data is like not fully. I kind of wanted Data to look over his shoulder and just like he not even fully comprehend like the weight of what Picard is saying. It's beautiful. It's the thing that I've noticed since watching Picard is that I don't think the Starfleet that Picard knows exists. Like I think it is an ideal that he has been taught and has imagined and hopes for, but I don't think we've ever seen it. I think there is too much.
What?
The version of Starfleet that Picard defends and has in his head.
Oh no, like,
I agree with you. There are too many evil people and too many bastards for it to truly be as idealistic as he thinks it is. I'm amazed he stays in Starfleet for as long as he does. Go on, give me some more of your sins.
Well, I'm going to send Picard himself here, which is rare for me because I have these characters on a pedestal. I'm dealing with that in this episode, guys. Give me some moments. This is breaking my mind.
It's hard.
There is this moment at the end of the show where Picard decides he wants to take a horse on a date. And he goes... Yeah, Philippa, the horse.
Why are you calling her a horse?
Because it's something mean I can do, and I don't like her, and it makes me feel better to put her down because I'm a bad person, Ian.
Okay, I thought I missed something. No,
she's the horse.
Okay.
Philippa, remember? Reminds me of Philippe from Beauty and the Beast. Remember I said that earlier? It's Philippe a really funny... God, I hope so.
It's a long time since I've seen Beauty and the Beast.
We're going. Anyway, it makes me feel better to not. I'm dehumanizing her to deal with my emotions.
Oh, learning all of the lessons from this episode,
exactly.
Aren't we?
Yeah. Again, the struggle is real. I am reflecting on my own self. This is going to take me days to unpack.
I regret nothing.
No, to be serious. There's this moment when Picard at the very end, like essentially is wanting to ask Philippe out on a date. And he just had an incredibly eloquent moment on screen. Powerful.
Yes.
This man knows how to speak, how to think. But when he asks a woman on a date, he just says, Philippa, dinner.
Right.
And I'm like,
that fucking
really?
Works. Come on.
Really?
The card says wanna fuck, you fuck. Like,
If he had said "wanna fuck," that's different to me. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Is that code? You know how it
oh,
used
of
to be like
course
Netflix
it
and
is.
chill, and now is it dinner? Is that
Dinner. What?
code?
They will not see each other again, most likely. He's going on a deep space mission. She's staying put on the space station. Dinner. You don't just have dinner unless there's shenanigans afterwards.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it's just a straight booty call at the end of
Hmm.
this episode. Okay. All right.
These are people that used to date. They used to date, and then they kind of broke up because she tried him for like really harsh in a court martial when his ship blew up, which is
I feel
fair.
like I would send that too. Like the beginning, so they're on the starbase. Picard is sipping tea or whatever,
Mm.
and cue the romantic music. He glances across the starbase.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
Philippa, and I'm thinking, oh, obviously like ex love interest. This is going to be interesting. He walks over to her. They have like one brief exchange, which could be considered, I think, insulting. Like it wasn't quite sure. He says, "My God, Philippa, au revoir, whatever. 10 years
Wow.
seeing you." 10 years seeing you like this makes it seem like 50. And I'm like, is that an insult? Like, does she look like she's aged a whole lot? It's kind
No,
of
I think it
shady.
yeah. Was it a bit like a backhanded, like just
It was.
fuck you
And
look
then
old?
and I write that down, and then all of a sudden it just like hard shifts into the two of them going toe to toe with this person. Like
Mm.
they were just like at it like old lovers, and I'm like,
I'm
oh,
gonna hit you over
this
the
is
head with a chair and
uncomfortable.
then fuck you.
And then by the end, they're like, we really hate each other, but let's go hate fuck. And I guess I'm okay with that, but it
Hmm.
felt sinful at the time. So that's
That's
one of my
fair.
sins. I know you
It
don't have a lot of sins, so.
that did raise a question for me because she's talking about the Stargazer, and that, as far as until this point, I assumed was the ship that Picard captained before the Enterprise. But then he says that that court martial happened 10 years ago. So I did a bit of research, and like Picard leaves Starfleet for that period of time. He goes to like study archaeology, and then he's like drafted back into Starfleet and captains a couple of ships, and then goes on to the Enterprise. But yeah, it was just interesting that this episode accidentally gave a bit more context to how long ago the Stargazer was.
Long ago.
Trust me, I'm a
How
nerd.
very, very long ago.
I'm a nerd. Right, okay. What I did have a couple of sins. Yeah, I had convenient judge from Picard's past is convenient. Just everything
Mhm.
about the setup of the trial is very convenient. The little carry box that Data packs all of his stuff into
Oh.
is useless.
That little duffel bag, the plastic duffel
It's
bag,
completely
is
pointless.
so pointless because it's only going to fit certain things inside of it. Like, and
Good
maybe
for
Starfleet
clothing,
has.
things that can morph, but it's not good
Yeah.
for solid objects. Like the things
No.
that he's putting in there cripple
Mm-mm.
the space efficiency.
So it's kind of like the props department thought, how can we make duffel bags more futuristic? And the answer was just
And
to make
less
it plastic.
Yeah, just make them less useful.
Mhm.
Yeah, that always bugs me. It's like, I'm leaving the ship with this one duffel bag. Is it a fucking Mary Poppins duffel bag? Like, how did that work?
I'm going to read a couple of my notes to you as I'm going back through all of my notes
Go
here.
for
We have Captain Maddox shows up on the bridge, with the Admiral, which, by the way, a positive thing. The Admiral uniform looked pretty cool. That was pretty cool looking, right?
I mean, I don't think we ever see it again. I love his Admiral
was
uniform.
pretty
It's like
neat.
all of the gold stuff.
Yeah, it was like
They
gold.
in the early seasons they
double
changed
pippin.
it so much.
They were double pippin.
Double pippin.
That duffel bag, just to go back to it real quick. Also, I would buy that.
Oh, 100%. In a
It's super
second.
useless,
In a second.
but I would totally buy that
use it
for
on an
sure.
airplane. I would buy it right now. Totally.
So
I want
anyways,
it for my lunch.
The Admiral shows up with Captain Maddox, is like, hey, by the way, this asshole's here to work on your android. Please take care of it. And then Data comes over, and then they have this odd exchange. Cue like some creepy music. And he's gonna work with I like how he goes, Data, how are you? And Data responds with, my condition does not alter with the passage of time.
I love that so
like,
much.
that's such a funny way to answer that question.
It's just like, it's a fuck you is what it is. It's like, you don't even know how I age, asshole.
And so I'm like writing down stuff like, Dr. Maddox is going to disassemble him on the grounds that he's not a sentient being and needs to be disassembled for like, and I write down Dr. Maddox is a dick. And then Maddox is vague on the specifics. He doesn't actually even talk to Data. He's not talking to him like a person the entire time, which is, of course, making me angry. Good job, writers. Good job acting. And And so, Picard says, no, you can't just take him. That's not going to work. And so Maddox hands over, like, I thought you might say that. So I'm having him transferred to me. And my first note is, oh shit, Starfleet is a bitch. Because that's my note. Because the fact that there wouldn't be any heads up to this sort of shift in a massive chain of command, again, just proves our point we talked about earlier, that it just seems like all of this is pretty shady business. Like they're just like going to skip over some protocol because they're out in the middle of nowhere or whatever. And then super my shady. Next note, oh yeah, I do not like this episode. So
good note.
Very early on.
That's amazing. One of my big sins was I feel like Guinan would have been better to represent Data than Picard. Because if Picard doesn't go to 10 forward and Guinan doesn't do her manipulative, backhanded, I'm going to argue this point so that you realize I'm being a dick and that's the point you should argue. Guinan should be making this court case. She really should.
She's great.
Because Picard's kind of given up at that point by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he just watched his first officer assault another member of his crew. Just because, because when you're going to court, anything goes. You can just remove body parts and just judo chop somebody in the back of the head and knock them out.
He did ask permission.
He did not ask permission to turn him off. He did not.
He didn't, but...
No, he assaulted him.
I mean...
Because he's a fucking dick.
Wow.
Here's a sin.
Mr. Frakes, if you're listening.
How did Maddox enter Data's quarters without permission?
Oh, it's a constant thing. Yeah, they should be locked. Yeah. He shouldn't be able to walk in. Yeah, people are always walking through doors that they shouldn't be allowed to walk in. In one of the movies, Captain Kirk has his fucking door wide open while he's making a log saying how much he hates Klingons. And that is rightfully used against him later on. Doors should be locked. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a sin then. Okay, good. That's an actual sin. I realize a lot of these sins are Danae's emotional sins. But that's okay. Like,
I have one that's kind of factual.
I'm getting a little calmer as we talk about it. That's good. That's good. I do have a headache forming, and my vein in my head has not receded. I'm still like.
I didn't want to mention it. Yeah.
Ooh, it's. I'm gonna try to push it back in.
The mic can pick it up pulsing. So at the end of the episode, technically, we're still at the beginning where Data can refuse the procedure but not the transfer. Maddox can still transfer him because that's something that they can do to any officer.
Correct.
So Maddox has a very sudden and convenient end of episode change of heart when he's like, he's remarkable, I love him, he's the best. When he could still be an absolute dick and say, cool, he's alive, he's still transferred. And he will just sit with me for the next 50 years until he agrees to let me take him apart.
Yeah.
He will not pursue his career.
Because he's clearly a villain.
Kind of should have done that.
He should have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I also, that court scene was interesting. We refused to hear, they wanted to stop hearing all of Data's titles. And then whenever it goes to Maddox's title, like Picard does the same thing and he tries to cut off Maddox's titles. But what I think would have been really funny is if the titles that kind of came out revealed that he didn't have authority to do anything that he was doing.
Oh,
if they would have just let the titles ring through, because it's like assistant chair to the second person on this team that's not actually like. If
they find out all of his credentials are fake. That one's not even real. You just made that up. We don't even give that one out anymore.
Oh man.
I have a lot more positive things to talk about, but I'm going to do like a little whimsical one, which I just love at the beginning of the episode when Picard and Philippa are talking to each other, and you just got the Enterprise in orbit and just coming in through the window and just slowly orbiting across. It's just a beautiful touch. You could have kept that window empty. You got the Enterprise just like
like in the background as Picard and Philippa
fucking each other. Yeah,
I don't think they were. I think at that point they were hating on each other.
They were eye fucking. Yeah,
you could see it.
Yeah,
you could just tell. That was just what was going on. I did like the ships in the background, like I said at the very beginning. But then here I am kind of to the point where she says that Data is a toaster, and she forces Riker to become a prosecuting attorney or whatever situation we are in legally. And I write, I do not like this fucking episode. No, nope, stop it. And then in all caps, I changed my mind. I don't want to see this fucking space station anymore. Get me out of here. So that's where I am in my notes right now.
Amazing. And I've only got a few more things. What were anything else you want to get off your chest before we finish talking about this amazing episode?
No, I already said I hate you, Riker. You have abandoned all reason, you dick. Okay. We already kind of send Picard situation. Oh, I did have something I liked.
Go for it.
We'll just sprinkle that in.
End on a positive.
No, I'm not going to end. That's just one of the things. I'm going to end on another rant about how awful this episode is.
No.
No, I'm not going to. I think everybody's been subjected to my
they love they love it. This is going to be like the number one episode.
No, it won't. People will be like, oh my God, do you want to hear someone just be insane for 40 minutes? When Picard, when he starts his speech, one of the things he said that I meant to mention earlier is he called the courtroom the Crucible. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
It was like the courtroom is the Crucible, and it burns away essentially like anything we don't need, and what remains is truth, and truth for all time. And I was like, that's fucking cool.
It's really cool. And it should be how courtrooms work, but it is not. It absolutely is not how they work. It should just be bring all of the facts, wash away the opinions, and see what is left over. But sadly not. Sadly not. Give us your final rant, because I've said everything I need to say.
No, I'm going to end on one final good thought, and that is that I really liked Data's visor. No, I think that the poker things
the poker visor, yes!
The poker thing... The poker scenes are not my favorites because I don't really enjoy like hearing people flop on the rivers and whatever. And whoever has an axe is a joker wild. I don't really like get the lingo, and that's fine because I get the gist of this scene. But Data's excitement to show up at the table as like the quintessential poker player.
I know, he's got like the outfit. He should have had like a little waistcoat on as well.
And he's just got like, and it seems like he always has a different sort of visor going with like different. Yeah. And this time it was this sort of, I don't even know how to describe it. Like a glass color. Sort of like this. Yeah. Like a prismatic glass thing that reflected onto his skin and made his skin look even more eerily android. I think that we all need to remember how important the visor was for the 80s and 90s. And I just feel like we need to bring that back.
Oh, 100%. So
I'm going to go get a visor, and then I'm going to put it on next episode. I'm going to wear a visor.
Do it. I'm here for it. Amazing. Well, that was possibly one of our more heated debates when it comes to Star Trek. I, for one,
did we debate?
Loved it. I didn't want to use the word argue because
did we argue?
I think we're both right. Well, we have opposing opinions, and we were talking about them, which I think is the definition of a debate. But yeah, no, I stand by it. I think we both make good points, and I think it all depends on what you come to Star Trek for, and we can both be right.
I don't know that I disagreed with you though. So I'm confused if the episode went a different way than I remember it, but I've been in a black space of ranting for like a while. So
I think you disagree with me calling it a good episode. Or maybe you didn't.
This episode is one that I would recommend to anyone who is super into Star Trek lore and rules so that they can shit on it from that perspective as well.
This is a terrible episode to have as your first episode because
oh my God.
You don't have the context of who Data is, why any of this matters, why we care about Riker.
No,
It's
this
a
would be an awful
terrible,
episode.
terrible place to start. It's
If
not.
we're
It's not
are
what
we
I would do.
are we making a list of terrible first episodes? Because this
Yeah.
is definitely on it.
This is on the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that was ever the goal of the podcast. I keep
It
getting
is
asked
now.
this, but yeah, it accidentally is now. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. That is an incredible episode of Star Trek, and come at me if you think it wasn't, but it is generally accepted to be one of like the top tier ones because of what it deals with. But I agree, it's maybe not the most enjoyable of Trek experiences.
It's an incredibly difficult episode to enjoy.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you've watched it so many times that you're like, it's coming. Or you know what I mean? Like you kind of like, I watched you watch this. I glanced over at you as we watched this episode, and you're just like chilling. You're like, cool, yeah, I remember this part. Yeah, this is the part where Data does this, tears the paper.
Episode.
Yeah.
I could have done this without even needing to.
Furiously taking notes, biting my nails.
Yeah. Don't bite your nails, you just painted them.
I did.
Beautiful. Okay, well, that's all for this week, everybody. Thank you for listening. I have been stalling and stalling because next week I am split. But I think I've decided what we're going to do. We have 2 weeks until Picard season 3 comes out. And that is the final journey of the entire The Next Generation crew. Doesn't mean it's the end for some individuals. They may do some spin-offs or whatever. But it is the last adventure of this crew as we know them. So I think it's a good idea to go all the way back and start at the beginning and their very, very first adventure. So we're going to do the 2-parter Encounter at Farpoint, which is the very beginning of Star Trek The Next Generation. So part 1 will be next week, part 2 will be the week after, and then we go on to season 3 of Picard, all being well. So what's your feelings about that today? Do you remember anything from the original episode, the very first episode?
We watched something from season 1, but I don't remember. I don't think it was this episode. It was something else, and I remember feeling like Picard wasn't quite yet himself, and it made me uncomfortable. Riker doesn't have facial hair.
No beard in season 1.
So that's interesting. So I don't know if I'm going to remember much about that. No.
It's a fascinating episode. It feels very little like the rest of TNG, but it kicks off some interesting things, some interesting relationships.
Okay.
I think it's a good a time as any to watch it. I think I'm interested to hear your thoughts about this amazing show that we love and its very, very first step into the world.
So we're gonna watch Farpoint, and then there's another episode after that we get to do before the show starts.
Well, it's a 2-part opening episode, so we'll do Encounter at Farpoint part 1 next week, and then part 2 the following week.
Oh, okay, a 2-parter to head into season 3 of Picard. Okay,
absolutely, got it. Love it.
Great.
Well, see us next week. If you want to watch it live, then we will be on Twitch at roughly 12:30-ish Central Time on twitch.tv/CinemaSins Live and on YouTube Live. So come and hang out. We're about to go and answer some questions. So until next week, you stole my quote, which was my condition doesn't alter with the passage of time. So I'm just going to go with it doesn't make sense that you would bet on nothing.
Yeah, and for me, it's the reality bears little resemblance to the rules from me.
Live long and Podspa. What's wrong with the way that I say YouTube? How do you say YouTube? Sounds like I'm saying Cool Whip. How do you say
it? Cool Whip.
Whip.
I say YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's YouTube is what I try to avoid because it's not YouTube. YouTube with the CH and the T. That's how English people say YouTube. It's YouTube.
You are saying YouTube.
YouTube.
You're saying YouTube.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Exactly.
Like that is what I don't want to say.
That is what I don't want to say. I'm trying to learn I'm trying to learn. Teach me. YouTube.
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 YouTube. Just 2 noises.
Hey, thanks guys
Live
for
long
joining
and
us.
proper. Yeah,
Oh
love it.
man, I
Right.
hated that episode. That fucking blew ass.
You
I have an
actually
old.
I am so annoyed at you. There are some
Why?
episodes where I'm like, fine, you can not like it. I get it. You should like that episode, damn it. It
I mean,
deserves respect.
I cannot like it and respect it at the same
But you
time.
should lead with that.
I eventually said something like it, right? Like
Ugh.
I was like, it had some good stuff in it. It had some. I said it had good points. I said that.
You have good points. Right.
The show has good points, is what I said. I said there's some interesting things to think about in here, right? I'm pretty sure I said that.
You did. Okay, let's throw back to you guys. Let's open up with a trivia question that we will answer later.
First, let's start with this
Right,
one.
good.
Ian, no Trek gatekeeping. Thank you, JCD.
Well, it's fine to gatekeep all the people that are wrong.
Oh my god, you're such a jerk. You're Rikering right now. Is
Yeah,
what
I'm in
you're
a
doing. You're
jerky
turning from
mood.
someone
Yeah.
who's like beloved and bearded into
Mhm.
an asshole that
That's
at a
me.
moment's notice is gonna.
I didn't do that. I
You
didn't
did that.
remove you.
You're
No,
such a
hand on
jerk.
heart.
No,
I did not
it.
remove
I know.
you.
I know. I was proving a point that you would turn me off if I was an android. You'd be like, click, fucking.
It's so easy. It's so easy. Click. Pinocchio, his strings cut. Amazing.
All right. Let's go through the questions. Okay, we're just gonna remove him while he hacks up.
I will die in peace.
Oh my god! Would you like to hear people hacking up a lung straight into their microphone? No filters, just fully ram it into your ear hole. Well, do I have a show for you?
JCD says Star Trek trivia fucking hell.
YouTube.
The Star Trek trivia question. We got to see Tom Paris last week. What were the other Star Trek crowds there to play? I think most of the chat will have the answer to that, and we will reveal the answer later on.
Ooh.
Ace says, does Data have nipples?
I mean, why wouldn't he? It's a pleasure zone,
Right.
and clearly he was designed for love. We learned this. I learned this in today's episode that he and Tasha Yar were intimate. And why would, like, he has to have pleasure zones, and that's certainly one of them.
Erogenous zones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. He does have nipples.
Do we ever see them?
Well, we see naked Law, and I don't think he has nipples because we have like Law when he's in pieces. But I'm sure we see nipples through his uniform because that season 1, season 2 uniform is
They're very skinny.
quite tight. Yeah, they're quite tight.
The moment in the episode when Data tells him that he and Tasha were joined at the hip, huh, Ian?
Yeah, right. They were joined at the hip.
I kind of love that this is a thing.
It's a thing. I'm not even mad about it.
I love it. It's great. It's great. I also hated Maddox, Polly. He did act extremely well. He was very unlikable. He didn't like look at Data. He didn't call him a he, called him an it.
He just will not make eye contact with Data when he's making the argument in the briefing.
Yeah, I hate it.
He is so reluctant to acknowledge that Data has concerns. It's really, really well acted.
Yeah, it was very, very well acted because I am on record saying I wanted Maddox to die now. So
and he does. Wow. And he does.
He sure does. All right. But Slab says Maddox grew as a character and he got better. He comes back? Fuck that guy.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Comes back?
No,
Does he come back?
No, he comes back. Data continues to have a correspondence with Maddox, and there is one other episode.
Oh, because you should definitely talk to your abusers forever.
Which takes the form of Data. Maddox wants to hear about Data's day, what his daily routine looks like. So the whole episode is Data describing like what his day is like and what happens during his day, and it takes the form of a letter to Dr. Maddox.
Ugh.
And that's the episode when he's mentioned it.
It just reminds me of when you're like, I'm gonna start a new routine, and so I have to write down everything that I eat or drink all day long.
Yeah, it sucks. No one
I
likes
hate
that.
journaling.
It's a
I'm so
great
bad at
episode,
it.
though. Really good episode.
I don't know that I can trust your decisions on good episodes anymore.
Well,
I'm
I know
sorry,
it's a
Ian.
bit of a whimsical episode, so that's why I think you'll like it. Josh Zero says, I do agree. This show is not good at being Star Trek, but it's not good at. This show is not good at being Star Trek, and it's not good at being a court drama, and it's not good at being an existential quadlibetary. It's not often I get a word that flummoxes me. And it's not good
Ooh,
at being a piece of
contributory.
contemporary fiction. It's such a. Josh seems to think this episode is not good at anything, and that hurts my soul.
Okay, hold on a second.
But Josh's favorite Star Trek is also 2S, so we'll take that with a pinch of salt.
I don't know this word. What is a quadbillet? What is that? A form of
Quadlibetary.
a form of trope? What is the etymology of this word?
I don't know. This is interesting.
I don't understand. That which is pleasing? Maybe? Interesting.
We will
Josh
find out.
Zero, coming with the words. Teach us. Tell us more things. JCD says, I remember seeing this one multiple times. Once on network TV, they cut out the ending and had it end when Data tells Maddox no. Can you imagine not having that Riker moment at the end, which is such an important kind of moment to get around to just cut it?
That's wild.
Like, it's still an okay time to end it because Data says, I'm not doing that. And Maddox says, okie dokes. And that's technically an okay place to end it. But there's still that horrible, lingering tension that Starfleet forced upon this crew, which is technically an organization, a corporation run by very horrible people.
Totally agree.
As we learned.
We learned this over and over and over and over and over again.
Today.
What do we got next? Nick Jagged says Riker's cross-examination should have been, how was the intimacy with Tasha? Did you love her? Did you enjoy it? Was it special? Be a lawyer, Riker. That's so icky.
But it's not, because Picard brought it up. And so that is on the table for discussion. And I really feel like it should have been talked about. And I appreciate that comment, Jagged, because I thought that there was going to be more to him opening up a stupid duffel bag and being like, telling me about what you decided to pack with you. And he's like, well, those are my trophies. And that is a book that reminds me of you. And that was my girlfriend. You know, like, how does that help them?
Again.
Yeah, there should have been more conversation, but we're at the end of the episode. So we can't do that.
Gotta wrap this shit up. We've run out of time. Too much time with Picard and Philippa eye fucking.
Josh Zero says, last year I gave Captain Ian a bunch of TOS memorabilia. Little did I know the captain didn't even like the show because of his hatred for Shatner.
I don't hate him. I do like the original series. There are some episodes that are a struggle. I don't like Captain Kirk as a character, but I do like the original series. There are episodes I love watching with my dad. I think it has the best sound effects of any show.
You gave them the gift of fire because he burned all of that in a bonfire, you know? So thank you for that.
I did. It's true. I mean, I didn't tell anyone about it, so I don't know how you know, but it's fascinating.
Josh Zero also says, it's a court case about sentience and the rights of the quote-unquote living. Hell, man, it's an allegory for slavery throughout history. It is.
Yeah. And I think
that's one of the reasons why the show is great. This episode is great. It's starting to like push in on some really deep things about the rights of the individual and what makes them quote unquote worth listening to and worth respecting. Like, and that has been something that people struggle with throughout our history.
Yeah. And if we're not careful, 400 years from now, we're still struggling with it, which I wish was unrealistic, but I feel like we will still be struggling with it. Sci-Fi Brony. Remember the oh no, we already did that one. Sorry, buddy.
I appreciated that.
And then it's
Sci-Fi
a great
Brony.
point. Great reminder.
I really appreciated that during the show.
Yeah. Pulaski was a good character, but she was also the screenwriter stand-in for the old person who won't change their views and say things like, I can say slur, but because it was normal when I was young. I don't think she's that bad. I don't think she was definitely the antagonist in a lot of episodes, but I don't think she was meant to be like a bad person or even like behind the times. She just was a placeholder for that antagonistic viewpoint, which the show needed. Everybody was always in agreement with each other. There was never enough conflict, to be honest. What have we got?
I like this one from Sarah. Tashiara sounds like Tal Shiar.
Yeah, this blew my mind because I think we watched yesterday's Enterprise at some point, and a version of Tasha Yar ends up in the past and then has a relationship with a Romulan prison guard, and her daughter, Seela, ends up being part of the Tal Shiar. So it's like, did she name the Tal Shiar? It's a great point. Really, really, really interesting.
It is
thought
interesting.
Experiment. Yeah, I love that.
Sci-Fi Brony also said a Star Trek lawyer show would be great. It would be like an anthology, all the court martials that should happen to the main characters in any other show.
I love it.
Don't disagree. I think like this,
incredible.
It would be fun to see it as like a recurring theme on a show like Lower Decks, for example, where there's a little bit of humor with it. There's some accountability for actions, but it's showing like what happened, then cutting back to the courtroom and showing them having to like go through the legal process, but not having it be every single episode. I think it would be just fun to kind of do like a couple each season. That would be really fun.
Oh, I love it.
But I'm not a courtroom drama person, so some people really love courtroom dramas.
Oh, I love this shit. I love it so much. I want the truth.
There you go.
Can't handle the truth. Sci-Fi Brony says, I love the do you part because the last one he kind of faces the camera / audience. I'd never noticed that, but it's true. Because he says do you to Maddox and to Riker and kind of to the
judge,
camera, but he's aiming it at the judge. But it kind of looks off camera just enough. That's a really, really great point. It's really, really cool. I love that. Breaking the fourth wall in a clever way.
Yes, Link. That would be my Admiral uniform.
Yeah, I think so. We need to get that. Get that for Danae.
Yeah. Please. Let's do that.
Paulie says, also, I like the theory that the duffers are actually tiny transporters that move the stuff to a designated location for you.
That'd be so fucking cool, Paulie.
That's a great idea. I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Josh says, I'm not a dog person at all, but I do love how Twix and Reese's, who are currently licking their junk, by the way, that is their names, right? Yes, that's their names. Lay in a yin-yang position just naturally every time. They are constantly on top of each other and in this little yin-yang. It's really sweet. They're brothers from the same litter, so they've always been together, just mushed in a little doggy womb, and then they're so happy. They could have entire couches to themselves, but they gravitate together and then they just come up and they curl around each other. It's really, really sweet. I love
freaking
them.
Adorable.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Ian, here's a question from you from Link. Do the people who go to Sin Week get to have a rank?
I think this year, yeah. Why the heck not? We did it last year for the staff members. So we had obviously Captain Ian, Ambassador Danae. We had Commodore. This was pre-Commodore Dicer. We called him something else. I think it was Chief Punny Officer, Aaron Dicer. It was Admiral Chris Atkinson, Fleet Commander Jeremy Scott, because he gets to play with all of the ships, Science Officer Daniel Cardoso, and it was Acting Cadet. It was Acting Cadet or Acting Ensign Jonathan Watkins. I can't remember, but he had the lowest rank because I love him the most. And that's how I show my love.
Good question. And another question. What episode of Star Trek had the bigger impact on you?
Oh, man. That's tricky. We're not going to stay on this very long. It is the biggest impact. Man. There are many, but I think it's really weird one. It's called Lessons, and this is where Picard falls in love with one of the new astronomy department team members. And I'm not one for love stories, but this is one of the few love stories where I was like, I really love this episode. It's super emotional. There are just some beautiful beautiful moments in there where they connect through music that is really, really special. And yeah, I just remember growing up watching that one and just thinking that's a cool way to connect with somebody. No, it's not Masks from TNG, although I do love that episode.
All right, back to this, everybody. Go ahead and how many people got this question right from JCD? Star Trek trivia question. We got to see Tom Paris last week, but what other Star Trek character did the actor play? That's the trivia for this week. What's the answer?
The answer is Nick Locarno, who actually plays a character in TNG. He is a character in TNG that has a similar backstory to Tom Paris, and Nick Locarno was going to be the character that was on Voyager, but the writer who created the character basically wanted too much royalties for it, and they didn't own the character. So they basically renamed him, gave him a slightly different backstory, and then said, well, we'll just carry on then. Made it different enough so that they didn't get sued. So very, very interesting. And yeah, a few people in the chat got that.
Okay. I think we are at the end here, and I think I've got somebody exciting to show you guys that we found on Twitch last week. So
cool.
We're gonna raid, and so please tell them to live long in Podspur.
Heck yeah.
And hello from Captain Whittington and Ambassador Danae. We're gonna go to Draft Medic. This is a tabletop RPG, but they're doing something Star Trek related. And right now they're actually playing their Star Trek adventure. So we're going from Star Trek into Star Trek, and you guys can hopefully find some other people that are involved in the Trek community. They probably don't know who we are or what we're doing. So represent us well as we head over. Yep. Hopefully they'll let us raid. Yep. They'll let us raid. So we're going to go over again to Draft Medic. So when you guys get over there, I don't know if they're going to have an ad or not, but once the ad finishes, say hi, maybe stick around and listen to their shows. So show them some support. And if they're able to chat directly, I don't know if they're like in the middle of the game right now, but when they do talk with you directly, you know, invite them to come over and check us out, that kind of thing. So have fun over there. We really appreciate you guys. We will see you back here for CinemaSins content for Recotopia. And I don't know if Chris is playing again on Mondays, but thanks everybody for showing up for that. And then we'll see you back next week for another episode of Captain's Pod. So we appreciate you guys so much.
Love you guys.
Live long and Podspur. Goodbye. You're so funny.
I try.